Teaser trailers. Teaser trailers will usually be the first proper look at a movie for the consumer. It should generate hype and paint a rough picture of what people should expect from the property, in an ad that usually runs under 2 minutes. The teaser should get people talking and speculating without revealing too much of the plot. It is called a teaser after all. It's the initial taste of what's to come. It's the general public's first look at the characters in motion, the atmosphere, the tone, and the setting. So you gotta be real careful not to screw things up. That's why I really admire when editors can craft a really exciting trailer for a movie that ends up being a total piece of space diarrhea. In today's age of social media, watching trailers in itself has become its own big experience, with thousands of fans and moviegoers sharing their thoughts and reactions online. Which is quite an interesting phenomenon when you consider that it's centered around what is essentially an ad, a piece of marketing meant to sell a product. People can't help but share their thoughts, whether it's coming from a place of criticism or excitement. And there aren't many trailers that get people more excited than a Star Wars trailer. Let's explore what separates a good teaser from a bad teaser by looking at the first teaser trailers for each of the Star Wars movies. Now here are the rules. I'm only going to be looking at the live action movies, so no Star Wars The Clone Wars. And they have to be theatrical releases, so sorry to all fans of the Ewok movies. I'm covering the 9 Skywalker Saga episodes, and at the time of recording, the 2 spin-off stories. And I'm going to be talking about the effectiveness of each trailer regardless of the quality of the respective film. I'm just going to be looking at them as trailers. We'll have a look at how each trailer uses music, editing, visuals, and other techniques to hype up the movie. From the prequels to the sequels, and the spin-offs in between. These are the Star Wars teaser trailers, ranked. Alright, picture this. Star Wars has taken the world by storm with its groundbreaking special effects and its incredible sci-fi fantasy adventure. People were excited to finally get a first look at the follow-up. Not that one. To reunite with Luke, Han, and Leia on their next grand adventure. Wouldn't it be cool to have a sneak peek at the vast new worlds, new alien creatures, and awesome space battles that Lucas has in store for us? Also, wouldn't it be cool to see none of that in the first trailer? Instead, the Empire Strikes Back teaser offered us split-second blurry looks at concept art. I mean, sure, it's Ralph McQuarrie's amazing work, but you can barely see anything. Doesn't help that the cheesy narrator can't even pronounce Leia's name.
Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia.
Leia? Did you even watch Star Wars, dude?
Chewbacca, and introducing Lando Calrissian.
What? Man, I know the movie hadn't even come out yet, but come on, Lando? You did my man Billy D wrong.
Lando's right.
Billy D.
On paper, the idea of showing scenes from the movie to the rhythm of Darth Vader's breathing sounds great. There's definitely some potential as to where the editors can take this. We see the return of Natalie Portman as Padme, and we're introduced to Hayden Christensen as the older Anakin. Yeah, some flat angle shots with not a lot of excitement, but not a terrible start. We do get to see new looks at some of the key players, including CGI Yoda. We also see Slave One, and a pretty cool look at the titular clones. And keep in mind, at this point, audiences really didn't know if they were good or evil. So props to the marketing team for keeping that under wraps. So there are definitely a handful of reveals that would have gotten fans excited. But man, some of these shots are just weird choices. Here's Mace Windu quietly deliberating with a group of senators walking in the back. Watto? Really? Watto? I guarantee you, there wasn't a single Star Wars fan who was saying, I'm really excited to see what they do with the Watto character. These shots don't really flow from one to the next, and the trailer as a whole seems really disjointed. The editing isn't even consistent, with the transition sometimes starting too early or too late. The trailer heavily relies on the breathing of Darth Vader, so wouldn't it make sense to show more scenes that tease Anakin's angst and fall to the dark side? See, isn't that so much better? It definitely makes more sense than this. It's kinda surreal watching a trailer from back when Star Wars wasn't the generation-spanning epic it's become today. It's a bull teaser, and maybe they didn't have a lot of footage to work with, but most of it is just the Star Wars logo slowly creeping into view, accompanied by some pretty cool narration. I like the idea that they're putting the viewer in suspense by slowly building up the title of the movie, like what Alien did. but the voiceover literally says it right at the start.
Adventure unlike anything on your planet. Star Wars.
It's a bit of an awkward teaser trailer, and we've come a long way since.
The story of a boy, a girl, and a universe.
A boy, a girl, and a universe? How is this setting the movie apart from the sci-fi serials it was inspired by? The trailer makes it look like a movie that could have gone either way. Nothing special about Star Wars is shown in this. Not the Force, not John Williams' theme. We just get scattered shots of random scenes thrown together. Look, officers running, a dude falling into some water, a random floating ball with a needle. Riveting. Okay, maybe I'm being too harsh to a 40-year-old trailer. Perhaps the sense of mystery and some of the effect shots did captivate the moviegoers of 1976. I do appreciate how he was trying to get people excited without revealing much of the story. I'm sure this trailer would have been much more effective and exciting on the big screen back in the day, but I do think it's fair to say that this trailer does not hold up to today's standards. Coming this summer from 20th Century Fox. Yeah, good luck with that. This movie's gonna bomb. The Last Jedi teaser shares the heavy breathing start from both The Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker teasers. Seems to be a bit of a motif of the sequel trilogy. It opens with a mysterious surface, and before you can figure out what it is, the teaser jumps you with Rey's hand and plays the Force theme mixed with Rey's theme. It mixes both old and new, while alluding to her training. Within the first minute, we're already being teased that this is going to be the most different Star Wars movie yet. We're going to learn more about the history of the Force, and we even get a slow motion shot. And slow motion is something that hasn't really been utilized in the other movies, at least not to this extent. A dark, haunting rendition of the Star Wars score carries this trailer, hinting at a dark plotline reminiscent of The Empire Strikes Back. But the teaser's biggest weakness is that it pretty much mirrors the same shots in The Force Awakens teaser. Yes, we get the heavy breathing, but we also get a damaged helmet. We get Luke kneeling next to R2 again. We get Phasma walking menacingly towards the camera. Didn't we see all of this before in The Force Awakens trailers? All the new shots aren't that exciting either. We get a lot of explosions and spaceship fights. Pretty much standard Star Wars action at this point. It all leads up to the big bombshell line at the end dropped by Luke.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
It was an unexpected twist that got people talking. Apart from that, I don't see much here that really grabs you and gets you hyped for this continuation of the sequel trilogy. Look, I'm not gonna lie, I was already looking forward to seeing this movie before this teaser came out. This didn't make me more or less excited than I already was. It just didn't leave a lasting impact. It was just kinda okay. A bland but serviceable trailer when it should have been something special. The teaser trailer for Solo showed some cool scenes and glimpses at new, interesting looking characters that are actually doing things, unlike in the episode 2 teaser. Now this is how you should reveal your lead characters, by showing us shots of them that properly showcase their personalities in just a short amount of time. Each of these shots take up less than a single second, but convey to the audience what these characters are all about. We get to see Lando's laid-back charm by his posture and that killer smile. In contrast, seeing Val's serious expression while cocking her blaster tells us about her experience as a mercenary and her no-nonsense attitude. And notice how all these character shots are in different locations, different set pieces, with different lighting and different movements, keeping the quick cuts more interesting and dynamic, and hinting at an exotic, action-packed adventure spanning multiple planets. Now that's how you reveal your characters. We also get to see the heist aspect of the movie, with a lot of flying action scenes and a pristine Millennium Falcon. Considering fans were skeptical of Alden Ehrenreich filling the shoes of the galaxy's favorite scoundrel, we don't really get to have a good grasp of his performance apart from a couple of lines.
What's that?
And that's what really takes away some points from this trailer. Apart from some cool looking moments, it's not really enough to settle the doubts of people who already didn't think that this was a necessary story to be told. Also, there's a really weird edit at the end of the teaser. You know, the part that should be the most exciting.
Thought we were in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
Almost as if to apologize for the Lost Movies teaser. This is the Empire Strikes Back teaser, but good. Sure, it has the corny narrated character intros again, but this time, we actually see some clips of the film. Wow, the bar's really that low, huh? And the narrator actually learned to pronounce the characters' names right this time. This trailer teases the biggest Star Wars movie yet, departing from the more quiet and personal Empire Strikes Back, to end this trilogy in a grand way. with what looks like an epic space battle involving the Falcon and X-Wings. We even get another trench run! It also does a great job at conveying the movie's fun-loving tone. Not only is the trailer set to the iconic Star Wars theme, but everyone's smiling and hugging and laughing. It really feels like you're reuniting with some old friends. A shift from the dark tone of the last film, and more in line with the first Star Wars. We do still get a hint at the intense, unresolved conflict between Luke and Vader, accompanied by the Imperial March, before going back to the fun stuff. All in all, it promises a really enjoyable adventure, and it does it well. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about this. Just watching it today makes me want to watch Return of the Jedi again, and considering it's a trailer from 30 years ago, that's saying something. The Rogue One trailer begins with shots in a location that Star Wars fans should be familiar with, the Rebel base on Yavin 4. And already it shows off how faithful this movie is going to be to the grimy, aged aesthetic of the original trilogy. It does a good job in setting the scene. This isn't the sleek, polished look of the prequels, and these aren't the new designs of the sequel trilogy. This is going to be an old school adventure. We get acquainted with our new protagonists, played by Felicity Jones and Diego Luna. And we even get to see a young Mon Mothma, played by Genevieve O'Reilly, reprising her role from the Revenge of the Sith deleted scenes. A solid start to the teaser that's sure to please the fans. Throw in some stock movie lines.
Yes, sir.
But then we jump to a bone-chilling warning siren that carries the second half of the teaser as we get the impending sense of urgency and danger. Never before has a Star Wars movie captured this sense of scale before, as we get shots of the ever-looming Death Star. And we get to see battles from the point of view of the soldiers instead of Jedi and Sith, as they run in a blaze of glory towards the AT-AT walkers. This is when you realize, these are characters we don't know, who we never see again. So are they going to make it out alive? The Empire has never looked so intimidating. We get familiar elements. We get the aforementioned Yavin base. We get X-Wing, Star Destroyers, AT-AT walkers, the Death Star, all recontextualized and filmed in a different style. By the end, we know that Rogue One is going to be a Star Wars movie that will genuinely feel like, well, a war movie. This teaser does an excellent job at selling the premise of the group of rebels who stole the Death Star plans, and how the Alliance earned its first victory against the Empire. The siren, the sense of scale, and grounded war action all works together to craft a heart-pounding and thrilling teaser trailer that does its job at selling you on a new type of Star Wars movie. The heavy breathing is back, everyone. The Rise of Skywalker teaser begins with Rey breathing heavily and slowly calming down, as if to mirror the anxious viewers watching the trailer, and subliminally preparing them for what they are about to see. We even get Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker doing the voiceover.
1,000 generations live in you now.
And while in the context of the trailer, it's edited to seem as if he's talking to Rey, it's almost as if he's addressing the viewer, reinforcing the idea of this passing of the torch to a new generation. It's also a callback to Obi-Wan's line from A New Hope.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic.
Which was also used in the teaser for Revenge of the Sith, the final episode in the prequel trilogy, creating a form of thematic resonance with the earlier films. It even says, "Every generation has a legend," a tagline that was used for the Phantom Menace teaser. Also keep in mind that these are brand new recorded lines by Mark Hamill, not archived lines from the other films, which hints at the return of Luke in some form. It all builds up to a thrilling chase between Rey and a TIE fighter, and as fans around the world gasp out in a collective, "That backflip though!" it fades out before we see the outcome. The first teaser doesn't jump the gun and show us any of the brand new characters, with the new droid, DL, being the exception. It opts to hold back and focus on the big three, Rey, Finn, and Poe, and also the villain, Kylo Ren. Most of the shots feature them prominently in their new attire and in the middle of some gripping action scenes. Most importantly, it shows them in this determined group shot, which hints at the trio being together for one final ride. As I mentioned, the voiceover by Luke Skywalker highlights a big theme of the sequel trilogy, the passing of the torch to a new generation. And I like how the focus of the trailer is on the characters and their relationships as opposed to the effects and new locations. Most of the shots are on this recurring desert/canyon terrain that's quite an overly familiar, indistinct landscape, especially in terms of Star Wars imagery. There's been a lot of desert planets. But what that does is it draws your attention to the characters and the action going on instead of the scenery. This technique is also reinforced by the types of shots the trailer uses, mostly medium and close-up shots. The teaser includes this poignant shot of General Leia, which, especially with the real-world knowledge of the passing of Carrie Fisher, would definitely evoke an emotional response from fans. This shot of her hugging Rey also makes this movie feel like a final farewell to her and her character. The trailer does a great job at getting you invested in these characters again. The teasers for The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi highlighted the return of nostalgic Star Wars elements, the Millennium Falcon, Luke, etc. And the Rise of Skywalker teaser does the same thing with Billy D. Williams returning as Lando. But interestingly, they choose to end the trailer with a more imposing, sinister return of old elements. The ruins of the second Death Star, and the Emperor's Laugh. Overall, this trailer has a stronger focus on the characters and expressions when compared to the other Star Wars trailers, hinting at a very emotional, very character-driven final installment. Leading up to the events of the original Star Wars, it's only appropriate to begin with the lines that set the stage for the prequel trilogy, spoken by Alec Guinness himself, effectively using nostalgia to entice fans to come together for the last time. Accompanied by the Force theme, we see shots from the previous 2 episodes, but with an underlying dark tone, until we see the hellish landscape of the lava planet. Wait, what is that? Is that where Vader's hands were originally going to be during this scene? It makes him look like an excited schoolgirl squealing, which I'm sure a lot of fans look like when they watch this trailer. The trailer makes it look like everything is finally falling into place, setting the stage for an epic face-off between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. We even get a look at Chewie and a whole tribe of Wookiee warriors, and Darth Sidious with a lightsaber. The beauty of this trailer is that they know they don't have to show much, because they know they don't have to. We all know what this whole trilogy has been leading to. The downfall of Anakin and the Jedi Order, and the rise of Vader. One interesting change you may have noticed with these modern Star Wars trailers versus the older ones is the more frantic pace of the edits, possibly due to the lower attention span of modern audiences and digital consumers. When comparing this trailer to, say, the first teaser for the first Star Wars, it's quite apparent. The shots of grand spaceship dogfights, the climactic face-off between Obi-Wan and Vader before we see them in A New Hope, and the return of some fan-favorite characters tease the most explosive, ambitious Star Wars movie yet. All leading to the Imperial March as we see the title of what was going to be, at the time, the final episode of the Star Wars saga. Keep in mind that the years between Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace was the longest hiatus between the releases of theatrical Star Wars movies. And look, it's probably gonna stay the longest at the rate Disney is going. Fans were absolutely hungry to see a new Star Wars movie on the big screen. They flocked to showings of The Waterboy, Meet Joe Black, and The Siege just to get that first glimpse of the long-awaited prequel. That's right, they paid for a full movie ticket just to watch the Phantom Menace teaser. Some people even left right after the trailer played. And man, they freaking nailed it with this trailer. Right off the bat, it has this mysterious quality and memorable captions. Every generation has a legend. Every journey has a first step. Every saga has a beginning. We even get to hear a hint of Darth Vader's breathing as we slowly see more and more of this new Star Wars galaxy. The first to be fully realized with groundbreaking visual effects. And then BAM! You get hit with that rejoicing John Williams theme and propelled into a soaring new adventure. A high-speed race, new vehicles, new creatures like we've never seen before. Blaster fights, chases, lightsabers, everything we love from Star Wars. We even get a small taste of the plot ahead of us. The story of the Chosen One and Anakin's humble beginnings before his fall from grace. The teaser also shows us the return of some familiar characters and makes you wonder how they fit into all of this. It was a promising and thrilling look at a new beginning for the saga. The Force Awakens teaser is a masterclass in franchise trailer editing. Every shot is skillfully chosen to contain a familiar element that people recognize in a fresh, exciting new light. We recognize the desert landscape and stormtrooper armor, but we haven't really seen a stormtrooper unmasked and given character, let alone a lead role. We see a desert junkyard with a familiar astromech looking design, but on this fascinating new little ball droid. We get some sleek new stormtrooper designs seen through more modern handheld filming techniques. A new desert scavenger riding a new type of land speeder. We see new designs for resistance pilots in their X-Wings flying over water, and a mysterious black-clad villain lumbering through a snow planet. Again, familiar territory for Star Wars, before unleashing this crazy new type of lightsaber. It gets people hyped, but also raises questions with each shot. In this age of trailer reactions, online speculation and fan theories, this is an extremely effective technique of getting people excited for a new movie. And the teaser for The Force Awakens does it beautifully. It also helps that Lucasfilm and Disney were extremely tight-lipped about any information surrounding this new movie until this new teaser came out. Everyone was truly going in not knowing anything. The trailer cuts to black every few seconds, giving the viewer time in between each shot to absorb what they just experienced before hitting you with another visual. A simple concept, but brilliantly executed. It builds excitement for every new piece of information and makes you savor each new shot. Just the rhythm of this trailer is something to be admired. It grabs your attention with a jump scare right at the beginning, and has this heart-pounding music playing throughout. Also, you have to give them credit for not relying on the Star Wars theme until the very end, where it just blasts triumphantly as the Millennium Falcon gracefully swoops over the sky in a gorgeous looking shot. The visuals are really doing all the work. It's exhilarating enough to see all this iconic imagery with modern day filmmaking techniques and special effects. We don't really need to see any text saying, "Star Wars is back," or "Get ready for the next chapter of the Star Wars saga," or "Buy the BB-8 toy." We know all that. And yes, everyone wanted the toy after watching the trailer. Don't lie to yourself. And that's all you need to show. The name of the movie, and how long do I have to wait to watch this? They had to convince us that something special was on the horizon, that it was time to get excited for a new Star Wars again. It teased new but familiar archetypes, locations, and vehicles. The classic Star Wars look and feel, but through a fresh new lens. It made you want to know more about this world again, but the trailer tells you close to nothing about the plot or characters. Who's that? Who's she? Well, how is that droid moving like that? Well, you gotta watch the movie to find out. It's a memorable trailer that still gets me as excited as it did when it first came out. It has strong imagery, a skillful juxtaposition of old and new, a great sense of fun, adventure, and intensity that definitely did a remarkable job of hyping up a massive film. So those are my thoughts on the Star Wars trailers. Let me know what you think. If you have any other ideas of what I should cover next, leave a comment down below. Check out some other videos on my channel, and if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe. Until next time.